Oh, okay, fair enough. So I'll have to have my clothes on this time then.
Welcome to Makers International, a podcast of makers from 3 countries, 2 continents, and featuring 5 guys separated only by the same language. Here's your host, Richard Morley.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good times, whatever time it is, wherever you're listening. As always, we have with me tonight Mr. Chris Cute.
Hey, how you doing?
Mr. Joe Whittaker.
You're right, Tom, yeah.
Alan Robinson.
How are you, fellas?
And Mr. Always Available for Interview, Jamie Page.
How you doing?
It's been a busy time. After last week's episode, I had to just consolidate things. But as always, we're going to jump in with the shout outs and the thank yous for all our commenters. So it's quite a long list, thanks to Lainey. But here goes. On Facebook, we've got Dale Gom, James Jacob, Mary Beth Huddleston, Patrick's Workshop. On YouTube, Jim Dockrell, Temple Boy Turnings, KSFWG, Laney himself. That's not his name, it's Laney Shaughnessy, obviously. Dave Gatton, Wacky Woodworks, Robert Evans, Steve French, Gordon Aitchinson, I hope I pronounced that right, Badger Workshop, Ragtie, Shogun Jimmy, Ian Hay, Bob Rawson. In fact, actually, did anyone see Bob Rawson's picture post that he put on Facebook with his cake and his tea?
Yeah, that was brilliant.
That was like homemade cake as well. I was really jealous of that. Over on SoundCloud, the Wilkie Wood Shop. So a huge warm welcome to all those new commenters, and obviously a big thank you to everyone, including the more settled commenters, the usual suspects, for want of a better expression. So don't forget, you can, if you're listening, you can always rate us on iTunes as well. And we love hearing your comments and getting feedback and just generally chatting with you on all our platforms. So I think we might as well just dive straight in with tonight's topic. So this week we're going to talk shop tips. So God help us all. Pretty sure there's going to be a few here. So who wants to kick off with a shop tip?
It's quite a simple one, really. After you've drilled your holes for the blade to go through, if you just turn the piece of wood over and take a countersink drill piece to the hole, kind of just open it up a little bit, it just makes finding the hole a lot easier. It just makes the blade go through the hole and finding the hole so much more simpler.
I always have trouble finding the hole.
this conversation can go in several directions right now.
I tried keeping that as clean as I could.
No, but Jamie, I'm just extremely impressed that you just jumped in and were like totally serious, and but then you left us with a funneled hole, and so I just want to say thank you for that.
Jamie takes his scroll saw seriously. When I bought mine, he sent me a whole bunch of tips. And the one that was the best for me was laying masking tape over the printed picture I was putting on top of the artwork. That was a big help for me. But how come you didn't mention the counterbit tip? What happened there, Jamie?
Because I knew we'd do this podcast later on down the line.
You've been holding out on us, Jamie.
3 months later, you knew you'd be able to teach me.
I've actually been thinking about doing a scroll saw video and just putting out a few tips and tricks for you. Which we was talking about, but I was thinking about actually putting it out on my channel.
So I get a shout out for that.
Yes, so it's basically, it was dedicated to you, but I'm going to put it out for everybody now.
No, I just want it for me.
Oh, so you want it private for you?
Yeah, nobody else gets it.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So I'll have to have my clothes on this time then.
Richard, we need you.
I was just about to, and he cut me off. So, no, I was going to say that's a really good tip, actually, because I never, obviously by using that countersink, it's going to funnel the amount of times I've been sort of, I was going to say fannying around trying to get the blade in. That probably is not a good phrase to use, is it?
Not right now.
It's really bizarre, actually.
This is going to hell in a handbasket real fast.
Yeah, really fast. We can always... I'm blaming Jamie, really. But no, you're going to be impressed with me, I hope, Jamie, because... And Alan might be surprised, and everyone might be surprised, because I'm not a big fan of scroll sawing. But today, actually, I did 3. That's 3 scroll saw things. I won't say they were projects. They were just like little jigsaws. But one of them was to, cut out a closed aperture, a hole. And if I'd have known that with the countersink bit, because you don't get much room underneath in the throat of the scroll saw.
No, that's right.
So to try and bend that blade round, the amount of times I've broken blades trying to, lift a bit of work up or whatever. So yeah, I wish you to, definitely do a video on that. And I know that I've heard the sort of the phrase about using the clear packing tape, but that's never worked for me. I always seem to get the blade all gummed up with the glue and all that.
With clear packing tape, that is supposed to act as a lubricant.
Well, that's how I understand
for the blade. That you can buy. I mean, I've never seen it in this country, but you can actually buy a blade lubricant, which comes like a stick. But again, like I said, I've never found it.
Just used standard tape and nothing gummed up on me at all. It was dry the entire time through. I'm just amazed you got through 3 projects in one day. It takes me like 10 hours just to do one.
No, they were like really, really tiny. Seriously, they were like literally.
So are mine.
4 inches. And I didn't break a blade, which was really bizarre. I haven't got my scroll saw out from under my bench for 18 months, and I didn't even realise there was a blade actually in there. So it's been sitting there for 18 months. It had gone rusty on the surface, and I just cracked on with it, expecting it to break within the first cut, and it didn't. It must have cut maybe, I guess in total, about 6 feet length of cut through half-inch walnut, and it didn't break once, which really, was, I don't know where the other blades are actually thinking about it. So it's probably a good job that it didn't break. But yeah, really weird.
I'm gonna guess it was a flat blade. But Jamie, let me ask you a question. Could you not use like just regular like a candlestick wax on the blade and use that as a lubricant, or is it just that
I'm not actually sure, to be honest. I've never actually tried it. I suppose you could use paste wax as well.
Okay.
But again, I've never tried that sort of thing. I've never got to the point. I mean, I've only ever really used plywood for cutting things, so I've never really had the need to use anything.
Well, then here's the question: then, as a scroll saw artist, do you use spiral blades or do you use flat blades?
I've tried to use spiral blades, and me and spiral blades don't get on. I do everything with flat blades.
Yeah, they wander a lot, eh?
Yeah, but there is a special technique to using them. Charles Deering is a perfect person to watch using them, and Dave Foss, who was my shout out last week, he's a perfect person to watch using. What he does with a spiral blade is just amazing to watch.
I bought a pack of 5 and I broke them all in no time. I blame myself not knowing how to set it up.
One of the things with doing that is you could possibly be pushing too hard and it's heating up the blade, which then causes it to stretch, and then that's breaking it too much tension.
I think that's my problem with scroll sawing is I become so impatient with it. I tend to start, pushing hard to get through it quicker, and I shouldn't scroll saw.
No, Alan, you and I are in the same freaking thing, because scroll sawing, when you say it to me, automatically screams slow process. Yeah, it's going to take you a long time to do this. And then to hear Jamie say what you need to do is actually slow down is like compounding the issue. That's
not adding fuel to the fire, isn't it?
It's not. Because I've got too much caffeine in my system to begin with at birth, dude, in order to handle this. So, Alan, I'm right there with you, buddy. I hear you.
You start getting fidgety sitting there for so long.
I'm by no means a scroll saw guy. I mean, I got this out because I needed to cut some things for what I'm doing. And one thing I always find, the hardest thing on a scroll saw for me is to try and cut a relatively straight line. Obviously it's for doing curves and whatnot. But I also find that when I'm doing curves, you're trying to follow the line of the template or the pattern or whatever. And as you go from like a cross cut to a rip cut, the blade wants to slow down. There's more resistance in the rip cut, isn't there? Then you can kind of scroll quicker cross cutting than you can. So as you sort of start cross cutting and then you turn to go into a rip cut, the pressure that you've got to push it and the way that it wants to cut and the speed it wants to work at slows down. Then it just happens, and you can't see what the grain's doing because there's a bit of paper on the top. So I've started marking the grain direction on the actual template itself as a sort of a visual memory aid for me to know that it's likely to start wanting to either cut quicker because I'm going now crossways, or it's going to want to slow down. Because the amount of times I've gone to a line and then it just kind of wants to race away almost, and you're like, oh, I've just completely missed the line.
One of the things that you will find is if the line that you're trying to cut is perfectly in line with the blade, you will often find that you will need to move the wood to the side, because that's just how the scroll saw blades are made. You no matter how hard you try and push that piece of wood straight on into the blade, it won't go. The blade will always wander to the side, because that's just how the blades are made.
Oh, okay. I mean,
you always need to hold the wood to the side a little bit to keep that straight
A
line.
bit like drift on a bandsaw.
Yeah, kind of.
I always find that it will suddenly just want to disappear off in its own direction, and that means that for a portion of the cut, it's going perfectly, and you can almost get straight down that pencil line, and then all of a sudden it will want to veer off. And if you're trying to do a curve, you come off the line, and the temptation is to then kind of swing it back the other way and steer back onto the line, like if you were driving a car down a bendy road.
Yeah.
But one tip I'd give to people, and this kind of works on the bandsaw, and it's where I kind of learnt this from, I guess. If you're doing a curve and you either steer too tight round the bend or not tight enough round the bend, rather than trying to veer back onto the line, carry on that curve the way it's going and just kind of bring it in over a distance of the line. Because once you take that template off or that pencil line gets sanded out, no one's going to know whether you were on the line, off the line, or anywhere close. It just it's just a curve then, isn't it?
Well, I think as Joe was talking about, the scroll saw is very much like a bandsaw. The blade is going to follow the least resistance in the wood that you're working with. And so you're going to have hard parts of wood that will follow that line really, really nice. But then you're going to hit to a soft part of that wood. And all of a sudden that blade's going to start going wherever it wants to go, or vice versa. It could happen either way. It depends on what you're doing. But so it's always a matter of judging what you're doing. And I don't, and Jamie is very good at doing scroll saw work, and I have yet to figure it out because it's just beyond me.
I know I'm not a fan of scroll sawing at all. It's probably my least favourite tool and pastime. And then you add all the sanding you've got to do after that. It's just a recipe for storage under the bench.
Well,
really.
if you don't like sanding, you want to get a reverse tooth blade. You won't have to do no sanding then.
Well, do you know what? They're the sorts of blades I got years ago, probably 2.5 years ago. I picked up a pack of, I think, 50 blades, and they are 80% of the length of the blade. The teeth go one way, and then there's a portion on the bottom where they come up. But even then, I still get, tearing on the bottom and all the rest of it. But I think we've probably there's going to be people out there that hate scroll sawing as much as Alan and I. So let's never talk of it again.
And me sometimes.
I don't like it either.
Henceforth, scroll sawing is banned from this podcast.
No, not at all. It's an art. No, I don't know about you guys, but I have mad respect for Jamie and anybody else who can do that. So props to you.
You got that recorded, right, Joe?
Yeah, I got it.
Don't give it to him. He's not worth it.
Well, what about you, Joe? Have you got any good tips?
Well, I think a good one to follow on, like making it easier to find the hole and get into the hole, is how to hide a screw.
Oh God, I had to ask, didn't I? Really? Can we go back a second?
Wait, is this? Why do I feel like we're talking about the nutty pen again?
It's just a natural progression, I think. But no, that's,
I use my hand.
That's my most popular video on YouTube to this date. It was hiding a screw in a piece of wood, or you could hide a nail or a tack or anything like that. And it's one of those tips that, to me, I thought it was really obvious, and I thought loads of people did it until I actually put it out there and people saw it and just said that they never thought of it themselves. I think those are always the best ones. And basically all that it is to take a regular chisel, and where you want to put the screw or the nail or whatever is to just use the chisel to slightly peel away a section of the wood. You want to try and keep it intact, try not to make it snap off, and the wood will want to curl up, that's fine. Just let it curl and give you enough room to drill a pilot hole if you need to, but most of all to get that fastener in. Put the fastener in, however you need to do it, then put a little dab of wood glue underneath where the wood's been curled up. Curl the wood back down, add a clamp or a weight to hold it in place, and you've got a perfectly matched colour to wood, grain match, everything, and it's, as soon as you sand it when it's dry, it's really hardly noticeable at all, and it's a much better finish than using plugs and dowels and stuff like that.
Yeah, because that's absolutely brilliant, Joe. I mean, but I have to ask you a question. When you put the screw in, after you've peeled the wood away, and then the folks that are listening to us, if you can create a visual, what Joe's talking about is he's taking a chisel at an angle and shearing a piece of the wood off in order to put a screw in the wood, then close the wood down on top of it, glue it, so that you never know that the screw is in there. Do you need to countersink that screw, or because if you don't do that, I would think that the laminate you would peel back over the top of it would stick up a little bit. I mean, how do you do that?
Yeah, well, in harder woods, it's always best to countersink them, but I've found in softer woods, the screw will drive itself in anyway. Removing that top layer of wood, it kind of softens it up a bit as well, and it just drives through. So yeah, you got to make sure that it's below the surface, otherwise you're going to end up with a bit of a bump. But no, yeah, that's the best way to go, Chris.
But then surely even if you've got ever so slight bump in there, once you've sanded that over, because no doubt you have to get all the glue and that, the squeezer, that's going to sand flat anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, it should do, the amount that's actually showing, yeah.
I was only asking because I was worried about the grain match. Once you flap that piece back down over the top of it to make it match perfectly, I didn't want to have to sand it anymore. I wanted to come back down and look as naturally as I was talking about. And Joe did that. And he already answered the question. So it's easy. On softwoods, you don't have to. On hardwoods, countersink it.
Well, I remember that video actually, and I can remember seeing the thumbnail for it. And I'll be perfectly honest, I was a little bit skeptical of that. And it just worked perfectly. I was really surprised just how perfect it was, because it's not like, when you put a plug in and you get a good grain match, and even when you sort of look closely, yeah, okay, I can just about make out a plug there. But when you did it, it literally was invisible, even though you knew it was there and you could see exactly where it was. It was completely invisible.
It's the fact that you've not removed any of the original wood. You're just pushing it to one side, and then the original wood goes back exactly how it was. Yeah. So as long as no bits chip off or crack or anything like that, then it goes back to like nothing had happened.
Did you have to practice the sort of the chisel action, for want of a better expression?
Well, in the video, that was the first time I ever done it. So
flipping heck.
It's just one of those. Take your time. I mean, my chisels was nice and sharp. Obviously, that's always got to be a given. Nice sharp chisels, but yeah, I mean, if you're going to be doing it on a proper piece, because I was just demonstrating on some scrap CLS. So if you're doing it on a piece of furniture or something like that, then yeah, grab a piece of scrap out your box and just give it a practice, see how the wood reacts to the chisel first.
Subsequently to that video, and that kind of blew up, that video, didn't it? It really went like mad.
Yeah, it went viral, that did. Yeah.
After that video, I don't know how, I think I just stumbled across it. There was a company, I think it might have been Rutland's here in the UK, that sell little baby planes at like an extra low angle specifically for that.
Yeah, I had a few comments about that because I'd never seen anybody use that tip before. That's why I'd done the video. And I mean, I've had a few hundred comments on that video, and there's probably about 3 or 4 people mentioned that you used to be able to buy these planes, and a lot of the old cabinet makers used to use them, but they used to just use them for hiding the pin nails, not actual screws. And I think it's actually called like a pin nail plane, or it's something along those lines.
Really original, imaginative name.
Yeah.
That's quite cool. Well, just while everyone else is thinking, and not wanting to kind of change the subject completely, when we were talking about doing these tips, I had one that I completely found by accident actually yesterday. So this is literally hot off the press. And no doubt it's going to be one of those things where you think you've just struck gold with an idea, and then find out that everybody does this, and that I've been doing it all wrong in the first place.
That happens to me all the time. I think I'm brilliant. Yeah, I think I'm brilliant. Then somebody all of a sudden says, that was done back in 1604, Chris.
Okay, but for me, it's not even that. It's like I've been using that tool wrong forever, and actually you don't use you have to turn the drill bit clockwise by all accounts. But you know those little sponge applicator things that you can buy? It's like a bit of black sponge with a pointy end on a little wooden handle. You know the ones I mean? They're like they cost like 2p, and they're available in all the kids' art craft shops.
Right.
Well, I'd always been using those like a paintbrush. Yeah, you hold it by the wooden end and you use it like a paintbrush backwards and forwards. Well, I was putting on an oil finish to these lemon TV cabinets from hell that I've been working on for what seems like most of my adult life. And I found that rather than trying to drag it like a paintbrush, to push it. Has anyone ever done that with those ones? You like dip the end in oil, so it, not engine oil, obviously, like the oil finish, and then kind of you can put pressure on it. So as you're pushing it along, you're sort of squeezing the sponge.
Yeah, because it pushes the finish. It leaves a really smooth finish behind because you're pushing all the excess off of the piece as you go. Yeah.
And you use less because it's all on the end and it's being dragged on, and it was getting a beautiful finish. So I think you've just summed it up. I've been doing it wrong the whole time, haven't I, Chris?
I've never actually done that kind of intensive work, but as far as that intricacy goes, because I know what you're talking about, those little brushes, and they can be a pain. But pushing, but you know what? And no, Richard, I'm gonna tell you, that's a gold mine because I have never tried to push it until you started to describe it. I all of a sudden realized the symmetrics of it. And I went, yeah, that makes sense because you're putting a really clean finish down and you're pushing the excess off as you go, as opposed to pulling it over the piece and letting it puddle. So it makes a lot of sense.
But the weird thing is, do you know how I found out? I hate those little foam applicator brushes, and I thought, well, I've got to use them up because I'm never going to buy them again. They're rubbish. Just once these are all gone, they're going in the bin. I'm never going to buy any again. And I was putting this oil on. I thought, I'll use it for this, and then they're gone. And you know how they deteriorate after a while. This sponge was just like literally hanging on to the little plastic thing that holds it to the wooden handle, like by a thread. And I was only halfway through. So if I dragged it anymore, I was just going to lose this bit of sponge off the end of the stick, and then I'd be stuck and like halfway through. So I just started pushing it to try and make it last a bit longer. And then all of a sudden, it just suddenly worked. So I might end up buying some again. But it worked for me. So hopefully it will work for other people out there that hate them as well. But, anyone else got anything similar that I think Alan looks like he's raring to go?
I wouldn't say I'm raring to go.
Okay.
I've actually been, in a way, kind of dreading this episode. I am kind of the, almost noob of the group here. I was going to talk about comfort and, being comfortable in your environment, in your shop and all that. And just now I'm thinking that's really obvious in a sense. It's really obvious. I'm not going to get much of a conversation out of that. Be comfortable in your shop. There's your tip. But maybe you guys can give me a tip or even advice, and forgive me if this is going, a little too off topic, but I think tips and advice are more or less kind of the same thing. I am currently in the market for a bandsaw, for my first bandsaw. I don't have all that much money. Consider me poor. We're going to say about $200 Canadian at best. I've already looked forever for the last couple months for a used bandsaw that's not a piece of crap in this area, and I can't find one. So that means I'm buying new. Which also means for only $200, I don't know how much money that means for you guys, but it's not a lot at all. That means a 9-inch bandsaw, basic crappy bandsaw. What bandsaw do you think I should get, if one at all, or should I wait? Because you see the reviews on these things and they are awful.
This goes back to an episode that we talked about a while back, Alan, where we talked about how people build up their shops over time, and that. I think I actually put a video out about this. It's like things don't come overnight. And Alan, to be frank with you and honest with you, I had to save up for, almost a year in order to buy the bandsaw that I have. But what you really want to do is buy the best that you can afford. But my question to you is, do you need this bandsaw for a project that's happening like right now?
No, and I was at Canadian Tire, and your voice rang through my head while I was looking at a 9-inch Mastercraft piece of crap. Let's just go ahead and say it. And you were telling me, buy the best you can afford, and I'm looking at it thinking, this is the best I can afford. this kind of sucks.
Well, no, I understand.
So
but I mean,
I should save. You're right. That's what I'm saying.
well, no, all I'm saying is because I mean, trust me, I have been in the middle of a project and realized I needed a tool, and I only had X amount of money, and so I had to go out and buy something I knew wasn't exactly what I wanted, but I needed it like right now because I had something to do. My question was, do you need this bandsaw right now, or can you wait?
It can wait if it has to wait.
Then let it wait, save your pennies, and buy the best you can afford. Because I saved for close to a year. I got to be honest with you. I had a bandsaw when I first started doing woodworking when I was a kid. And then I moved, lost the bandsaw, and never used the bandsaw again for close to 25 friggin' years. And I got along fine without it. But then I realized that, you know what, this is a tool in my shop that at that point in time, because I'd gotten along so well without it for so long, that I didn't think I needed it. You know, it was just, I was buying this as a luxury item. Then I bought a good bandsaw, and oh my word, I use that darn thing all the time. Yeah, so do yourself a favor. If you don't have an immediate need for it, wait, my friend. I mean, wait, seriously,
Right.
Save your pennies. Stick that $200 in a little jar somewhere. Keep adding to it. And then when you can afford to buy a quality bandsaw, go buy one. But don't, this is the point where I would say don't cheap out if there's not an immediate need.
You're absolutely right. And there is a great tip right there.
You say that you was against originally the second-hand route because you're really finding it hard to find a quality bandsaw available in the area near you and everything like that. Now, I've got a tip for people who are actually looking for second-hand tools. Now, I know how much of a chore it is. You're constantly checking the for sale sites like your eBay. I mean, in America it's Craigslist. We got like Loot in the UK and stuff like that. And to keep remembering, right, 14-inch bandsaw, search eBay, no, nothing this week, and then keep going back and going through like that. There's actually a site called If This Then That. If you search Google for If This Then That, it'll be the top site on the search. Just click that link, and you can actually set up like the column recipes. So you could pick a site like eBay. So you'd click the eBay icon and then you fill in your search criteria. So you would put in 14-inch bandsaw and then put in your email address, and every time a 14-inch bandsaw is listed on eBay, you can set it as used and stuff like that. As soon as it's listed, eBay will send you an email notification, so you haven't got to go through the hard work of searching yourself every day or every week, whatever you need. And there's Craigslist on there as well. There's a lot of other sites that selling sites, and it just takes out that hassle of you having to manually go and search. You'll just get a notification, oh, someone's put a bandsaw for sale in my area, or blah blah blah. Really nice, really easy to use.
That's actually really cool because I'm not against buying used by any means. I looked for months. Now, all my tools are used. I've always bought used tools, but it was taking me forever to go from site to site and look. So we should put that in the footnotes, and I'm actually going to try it. So I'm sure some listeners wouldn't mind trying that as well.
Yeah, you know what, Alan? I know that on Kijiji, you guys have a great site up there, but it's much like Craigslist here in the United States. And we've talked about this in the past in the podcast about what sites are available. But you've got some old general tools that are typically sold in your areas. And man, I'm telling you, some of those general bandsaws, I'm telling you, if you can grab one of those, buddy, you've got the bandsaw of your life, because those things are a beast. Those things are awesome. It's like Jason McGinn has a general bandsaw that is just, it's got a 3/4 horsepower motor on it, and that thing will plow through anything. So keep your eyes open while you're saving your pennies. Keep your eyes open. That's all I can tell you.
Eyes open. I got really lucky with the jointer. I got really lucky with the table saw and the planer, and I guess it's only a matter of time. I could get very lucky with the bandsaw, or like you said, 6 months from now I'll be able to afford an $800 bandsaw anyway. So watch out for that.
Had you thought about, I mean, how confident would you be, do you think, in building one? It might sound like a barking mad.
No.
Nobody can watch me, but I'm sitting here shaking my head. Not going to happen for me.
I mean, no, Richard, that's a great suggestion. I don't know about Alan, but I can speak for myself. I am no Matthias Wandel. I am no John Hines. I would not know the first thing about engineering and building my own bandsaw. I would feel much better about buying one.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who, you know, would think the same. I don't feel confident doing it or whatever, and that's cool. I don't know if I would, to be perfectly honest. So don't sort of get my intentions confused or misconstrued here. The only reason I asked was, you know, Matthias actually has a set of plans for making his bandsaw. Now, I don't have those plans, but I have purchased his plans to make the router pantograph, which is a much simpler thing. But his plans are awesome, and they're only a few dollars.
No, I understand. I understand the plans, but here's what it comes down to. I guess in my neck of the woods, when I look at it, I look at Matthias and I go, that's friggin' genius. And Matthias, that's killer that you actually made your own bandsaw. But when soup comes to nuts and you start adding pennies together, what's it going to cost you to build your own bandsaw as opposed to buying a professionally made bandsaw?
Well, there is that. Yeah. And obviously, you know, if it goes wrong, you can send it back and all the rest of it.
Right. I mean, because if we're talking about a difference of $100 to $200, then I'm going to go to the professionally made one. And I'm not a rich man. So it's like, I'm not throwing that number out because I think it's just because, oh gosh, everybody couldn't afford that. I'm just trying to say that when it really comes down to it, by the time you get done building the bandsaw that Matthias made, the cost that it took for you to build that compared to the one that you could have bought that was professionally made, is the difference worth it? I don't know. If you're looking for a challenge and you want to do it because you think it's fun, then I think that's a great way to go, Richard. I don't blame you. I don't disagree with you at all. I'm just trying to say, somebody who just wants to get a tool in their shop, that may not be the way they really want to go.
All finances aside, I honestly don't believe, even with the best plans in the world, I could pull that off. I don't have any fine-tuning tools of any kinds. I don't even own a set of calipers. I use a tape measure. That's it. That's what I have.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, somebody out there, you know,
that is very
food for thought.
The idea of having my own custom bandsaw, that's amazing. That would be very cool. Don't get me wrong. That would be epically cool. I love the look of Matthias's shop. All the green in there, like your own special color to theme your own shop and make your own tools. That's just mind blowing. Like, I hope I can, you know, a couple of years down the road, whether it be 5, 10 or 20 years, have a shop like that. But that's beyond me at this current point in time.
And yeah, I think you've almost hit the nail on the head there. You know, years down the line, and that goes back to what Chris was saying. These things don't happen overnight. And sometimes when I think back to when I first started my channel, and if you look at any of my early videos, you can kind of see the evolution of what is basically a conservatory on the back of a house, which suddenly starting to look more and more like a workshop. So I think we all think that far down the line when actually, you know, sometimes it's good to think back to how things actually take time to develop and all the rest of it, and not lose sight of that.
Fantastic advice, gentlemen.
Well, Richard, I've got a couple shop tips. I don't know how you want me to go with this. I've got, I could do the philosophical shop tips, or I could do the functional shop tips. I mean, I'll tell you what, I'll just go ahead and do philosophical.
I was going to say, actually, because I'd quite like to hear you being philosophical for what.
Well, because as you know, it doesn't happen very often, right?
Exactly. I was so surprised I couldn't even get my words out then.
The fact that I actually pronounced philosophical is amazing. Anyway, my first shop tip, and I'm going to go rudimentary on this, is when you're in the shop and you're just getting started out, you're going to find, no matter what your setup is, that you're constantly, and you guys chime in, you're constantly always reaching for certain tools because they become part of your workflow. You follow me? And so there's always tools that you absolutely always use, and there's some tools that you may acquire that you don't use that often, but they're nice to have in case you need them. My whole philosophical shop tip here revolves around organization, and when you say organization to a woodworker or anybody who works in a shop, most of the time it turns out to be like a cluster, you know what, because my shop is always in a mess. But you know what? I do always know where my most often tools that I use are, because I always put them back where they belong. It's a matter of creating a shop space for your most used tools. Organization is.
Okay, sorry. Can I stop you there? I watched one of your videos once where you tidied your shop and you lost it.
No. But Jamie, you didn't hear what I just said. I said my most used tools. I had a video out on a tool that I actually made for myself that I didn't use that often, that I had put away, and I had reorganized my shop and got confused because I reorganized it and couldn't find a darn thing. But you know what? I still knew where my speed square was. I still know where my screwdrivers were. I still know where my hand planes were. I still know where my tape measure was. It's a matter of organizing your shop, and it's a matter of organizing your workflow. And as you get into it and you start building things, you realize after a while that I always grab this tool. I always grab the little jig. I always do this. I always do that. Those are the tools you want to keep in front of you. So keep them in front of you and accessible to you. The ones that you don't use that often, store away. Give them their own place in their shop, in your shop. And then, knock on wood, and unlike me, like Jamie just mentioned, remember where you put them, and so that you can go grab them when you need them. But always try to keep the most used tools you have right in front of your face, because those are the ones that you will gradually learn. I always use. And so it's real easy. It's a speed square. It's a pencil. I mean, hey, look, we're every single one of us. And if any of you disagree with me, I will call you a liar. If you haven't walked around your shop going, what did I do with that tape measure? Or where did that pencil go? I mean, you're going to be lying to me, because we all do it. But I know where my speed square, I know where my contractor square is, I know where my hand planes are, I know where my screwdrivers are, because when I'm done using them, I put them back, and they're always right in front of me. So I guess my shop tip would be organize the tools you use the most. The rest of it, go ahead and look for. That's kind of what I do, but that's just my own personal little shop tip. It's a philosophical thing, it's a workflow thing. It's kind of like when you're in restaurants, they teach you to clean as you go. In your shop, clean as you go. When you're done using that most used tool, put it away.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of almost add on to that, really, when I've got zero wall space in my house because it's all glass. So everything had to start off being on a horizontal surface. And you know what horizontal surfaces are? They're just magnets for chaos. Mm-hmm. So I ended up, after I built my bench, I put a board on the back with a view to making it like a tool wall. Because, you see the videos, everyone's got a tool wall, and they're nice backdrops, and they're good for people, visually to see. But I had nothing to put on it. And I deliberately left it completely blank. And over time, started putting my more and more my regularly used things on that thing. So I've got, a couple of back saws and a marking gauge and a marking knife and some tape measures, and then now a specific little pot for pencils. So when I can't find the pencil that I've got in my hand because I put it down and it gets lost, I just go to that pot, and there's 20 pencils in there. I know where to find the next one.
Right.
It is a good
tip. I have a what do you call it, like a poached work belt that everybody uses, and I can't stand wearing them, but I keep it hung up above my workbench with every little thing that I use for every little project, and at all times, like tape measure, pencil, small square, everything like that, and at all times, everything stays in that pouch, no matter what. I don't ever wear it, though. I got to walk back and forth across the shop to grab the small tools.
But at least you know where to go to get it.
Exactly. I know. It's a straight line. It takes 2 seconds.
At least you know where it is, because you put it back to where it was originally. Exactly.
Yeah, and I still misplace that tape measure now and then. One time I went and bought like 8 tape measures when they were on sale at Canadian Tire and placed them all over the shop, and I'm already down to 1.
All right. Well, I'm gonna throw one more in here, and it's another philosophical question, but it's a functionality question too. And you know what? I know who can chime in on this. It would be Joe. My second shop tip is lighting in your shop. Lighting is more important than most people give credit to. I can tell you right now, I have 2 areas in my shop that are very, very poorly lit, and I'm gonna be the guy that's gonna sit here and tell you right now, do as I say, not as I do, because my shop is very poorly lit in a couple very key areas, and it's over my drill press, and it's over my bandsaw. And when you're looking to do decent woodworking and accurate woodworking, you really need to have good lighting so you can follow lines, hit the drill bit on the dot that you put on the piece of wood. And I'm the worst at it, and I plan on correcting it. And so if we're going to do New Year's resolutions right now, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to fix that situation. But lighting in your shop is not only a feature of doing good working, it's a safety issue. Because you really, really need to be able to see what you're doing when you're running tools that can cut your fingers off.
Yeah, you're not going to use a bandsaw with your eyes closed, are you?
No, but having a very dimly lit bandsaw like I do, and Joe, I don't know, you chime in because you've got wonderful lighting in your shop. So I mean, I've got to upgrade mine, and I know that, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because lighting in your shop is really important, especially around the tools and blades that move.
100% agree with that. I mean, I've moved into a second shed now, but the original shed that I started my workshop in, it was literally 2 CFL bulbs, and that's what I was working with, and I'd move them round as and when I needed them, because all the power to my shed is literally off one extension lead that goes into my house, so I'm limited to what I can power off it. And it was really terrible. I mean, it was terrible for my videos, but just from a woodworking side of things, like you say, you can't see the line that you're trying to cut to, whatever you're trying to measure, it just makes life that much more difficult. But anybody looking to upgrade lighting, I mean, you've really got to start looking now at the LED bulbs. I mean, they are more expensive at first, but the lifespan of the bulbs, the quality, I mean, the brightness as well, especially for the power consumption, it's really worth it. I've fitted tube lights into my shed, and I'm LED tube lights, so they can fit into a standard tube light fitting. So if you've already got existing tube lights, then it's just the expense of the new bulbs, and the power consumption to the wattage, like the equivalent wattage of what they put out, is a lot less. So I'm able to have 4 tube lights running and my tools and everything like that without having to worry about overpowering the system. But yeah, as Chris was saying, lighting is a big must.
And mostly it's just so you can see what you're doing. But if you're a content creator, then obviously it's for the camera as well. But I mean, more importantly, it's for your own safety, just so you can see what you're doing and also do the kind of woodworking you want to do. Because I stand at my bandsaw, and it is so dimly lit that I have to cut everything rough. And, just because, you know what, I'm too lazy to drag over a light that could shine on a table. And so I really just need to establish permanent, firm lighting and just get it done. I mean, that's the last tip I have for you, Richard. So, I mean, I've got another one if you want it, but if you don't, then that's fine, because it's I've been taking up enough time. There's enough guys here that have plenty of shop tips, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure Joe. I'm sure Joe's got some good tips. I mean, just before you do dive in there, Joe, just the thing you kind of reiterate about the lighting. I have got no lights in my workshop, 0, none, nada. It's purely on the sun. So as soon as the sun sets or starts to set, and obviously this time of year it's a lot worse, my working hours get reduced so much because, it's nighttime and I can't see.
Especially in the UK.
Yeah, I mean...
working from the sun, that's hard.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's great in the summertime. And, if you look at... when I first started making videos, I actually thought, I don't need any lights. I've got the sun. I'll get fantastic lighting. But once autumn and winter set in, you're scuppered come 3 o'clock, because even like today, midday, and it's just a dark grey, rainy day, and you turn the camera on and you're like, actually, it's not really that good. So what have you got then, Joe?
Well, I've got a tip for the metal workers out there. Now, obviously, this is only going to apply for ferrous metals, but whenever you're working with metal, cutting it, grinding it, anything, you're always left with a ton of metal shavings and chips everywhere. So a lot of people will use magnets to collect up all the chips, but then you've got the problem of your magnet is now covered in metal chips.
Getting all the swarf off, yeah.
Exactly. So basically, it's just get a cheap plastic bag, put your magnet inside the plastic bag, collect all your chips up, and then turn the bag inside out, removing the magnet and keeping all the chips in the plastic bag that can then be easily disposed of. And it's as simple as that. Now, a lot of people, that'll be obvious too. But again, I made a tip video about it, and I was that surprised by how many people who hadn't thought of that. And once again, it's always those tips, the ones that seem obvious to you, and they're the best ones to give out as advice, because there's always somebody out there who hasn't thought of it already.
Yeah, a tip, it's hard. When we were talking about this before, it's kind of difficult to think of tips to give people because there's just what you do.
Yep.
But it's easy to go, oh, I never thought of that. And, the plastic bag around a magnet, pushing a paintbrush on, all these things that we've already talked about, they're hopefully not obvious to everyone, and somebody will get, I hope everyone gets at least one thing out of, what we're chatting about. So, I really like that tip, because especially with metal, have you ever got metal swarf in your thumb? That really hurts when you're trying to get swarf off a magnet. So what do you think, Jamie?
Yeah, I've got a quick one that can also be used around the holidays season. It's about tape, and everyone hates losing their space with the old sticky tape and not being able to find it again. So I actually came across this little tip watching Andy Berkey's brother, old Spanky Jerky, on his little parody of Andy Berkey's "Give Me a Midget." What he basically do is get a different colour piece of tape and stick it to the end of that bit of tape. That way you'll always be able to find that bit of tape. So there's another shop tip for you.
There you go. Stolen directly from Andy Berkey's fake brother. Thank you, Jamie.
Oh, no, it's his real brother.
Oh, that is his real brother. You're right. It was.
What if you've only got one colour tape, though?
Then you put a bit of paper on it.
That makes sense, yeah.
Or you color it. Maybe you grab a Sharpie. What?
Colour it, yeah.
Or you just fold the end over.
The old ones are the best.
Andy's brother is getting very popular without even trying right now.
Yeah, I don't think that was his intentions either.
Well, I mean, there's been some really cool shop tips out there, and if anyone out there is listening and they've got a cool shop tip, then make a comment on whatever platform you're listening on, because we're always looking for shop tips, just like everyone else is as well. And shout out, and don't keep it all to yourself, because that's how we all learn. Every one of us, the listeners, absolutely everyone. Well, since Jamie has obviously already had a little shout out for Andy, what's everyone watching at the moment, and what are you guys up to in your workshops?
Well, I finally started my Christmas project that I've been talking about for like 2 weeks. I got that started a couple of days ago now. I was struggling to find materials for it, because I was really because I'm literally just doing it for a video, and I didn't want to go and spend the money on a big sheet of plywood just for what I wanted to do. But I've managed to find the scraps, and I've started the fake Christmas fireplace that I've been doing. So that's what I've been working on. Nothing much, but it's getting done.
I've just thought of a really good tip for you there, Joe. So you didn't want to go out and buy specifically a big sheet of plywood, because obviously that's money. So make Christmas presents for people. Don't buy them. Save the money. Then you can buy your plywood and make your video.
But then I need to buy materials to make the Christmas presents, so that's not...
You use that out the rest of the sheet of ply, can't you?
I'm just hearing excuses.
So can you tell us what the video is going to be, or is it going to be a surprise for when it?
Yeah, it's the fake Christmas fireplace. So like, if your house hasn't got a fireplace, somewhere for Santa and Father Christmas to come through. You
mentioned that the other time. So you're using plywood, not MDF?
I've got MDF and plywood. I'm literally just whatever scraps I've got lying around. But I want to use plywood for the frame, like your actual fire surround. So I've got some grain at least. Right, gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. So when can we expect that to be out? I'm hoping as this podcast goes live, but that might stretch out a bit longer, knowing me.
Give yourself a buffer, Joe. What do we know?
That's it. Yeah.
No.
Okay, next Christmas.
So I have no idea when I've got videos coming out. I haven't finished my these TV cabinets for Cat, although I've probably got footage for maybe 3 videos. So I know exactly what you're referring to as being non-committant there, for sure. How about you, Chris? Are you going to astound us with something good?
Probably not. I've got one video that I'm going to put out. No, well, not probably not. Most likely not. I am gonna.
Not impressive.
Yeah, it's like, I am Mr. I'm never going to impress you. Don't even ask me to. I've got one video coming out, and then you know what, guys? I'm taking the rest of the year off. I'm going to sit on my laurels, but I'm actually not sitting on my laurels. I've got a lot of work to do between now and Christmas for presents and things of nature that I can't put out in the public, and probably will not videotape just because I need to get them done. So I'm going to work from now until December 25th on getting those things out and making sure that people. My wife decided needs presents, and then I'm gonna get those done, make her happy, and then after that's done, I'm gonna sit back and put my feet up and probably have a couple beers and just chill until the beginning of the new year. So I've got a lot of things in the works, nothing I can talk about, but I do have one more video coming out that will be out sometime tomorrow.
Actually, tomorrow, or is that like depending on what it could be tomorrow?
No. Well, no, I'm trying. Richard, give me somebody. We post this podcast on Wednesday.
Yeah.
My video will be out tomorrow on Thursday.
So actually tomorrow, not tomorrow, as in, but tomorrow from. Yeah.
So I'm trying to do the illusion of real time here, and you're just not getting it, man. And you step up.
But I barely know what the time is now, mate, to be honest, let alone what it's going to be in a few days. And of course, that doesn't even account for the fact that it could be any day that anyone, this could be like 2018 potentially.
Of course. And then they go back and go, oh, he put that out 2 years ago. What are you talking about? That's what I'm doing, man. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry, buddy.
Somebody jump in. Just give us a second to kind of.
Alan, what are you up to? Come on.
Well, I'm not making a video for my channel this weekend. I'm making a video for Home and Garden for Mere Mortals, which is fairly boring. But what I've been doing in the shop, I've been just playing around a lot, all by my lonesome. I've been practicing relief carving like a lot lately. It's basically all I've been doing. I got a Waterstone, 251,000 Waterstone. I got a strop. I have a diamond plate coming that is not here yet. A whole set coming that is not yet here that I want to play with. I'm slowly becoming obsessed with wood carving, if that's not weird.
No, not at all. That's awesome. I'm kind of excited to see how this evolves with you as well. I can see this really taking off.
Oh, it's something else. I'm making myself a whale right now. That's not something I thought I could make.
Presumably not life size.
Oh, it's life size. No, of course not. It's a 8x8 picture. I'll be out here for the next 40 years making my whale. Check back with me then.
But I always look forward to your videos because I know you work during the week and then you both beaver away in your workshop and then it all comes out. So always good. What about you, Jamie? Are you going to show us anything exciting in the pipeline?
I've actually got a couple of Scroll Saw projects planned, but I'm not going to give away what they're going to be yet because, to be honest, I don't know what one I'm going to do. So I'll just let everyone know that there will be my next project will be a Scroll Saw project.
So yes, don't know, soon.
Yeah,
cool.
That's pretty it.
Sweet. Well, I've been, because normally we sort of talk about who we're going to shout out on social media, not on social media, on YouTube and other channels and stuff like that. And I know, we talk about this beforehand, but I haven't actually got a channel to shout out. It's actually like a technique. And I don't know if anyone's seen it. Maybe this is going to be something that everyone knows about and I've just been on a different planet. I don't know. But have you guys seen and I've forgotten the word, Lichtenberg figures? Is that right? With the electricity?
Oh, yeah, I know what you're on about.
Yeah, I saw a Joker portrait done by it, and it's phenomenal.
I picked this up off one of a group on Facebook, and somebody posted something, and I was like, oh, I think I know them, and they'd got like one of these 10-second clips on their profile, and it was this guy doing it, and I was just like, wow. And then I went and looked, and I've just been watching loads of videos on it. It just seems so crazily simple. I want to make one of these machines because I know Carl Jacobson did like a review of a machine that's available in the States, didn't he? I cannot find them in the UK, so I want to find a video. I really want to do that. I've just got the bug for that. I want to electrocute wood, shock therapy style. See what that looks awesomely exciting.
That sounds badass.
So I'm not going to shout out a particular channel, although I kind of just give Carla a bit of a plug there. But yeah, these Lichtenberg figures is just insane. You've got it. If you've never come across them before, it's absolutely mental. So I'm going to open the doors now. Top that, guys.
I'll give you a shout out. I'll give you a shout out to a good friend of mine that I met in Atlanta that does great work and probably needs more support than he actually has. David Gunn from DLG Woodwork. He turned a Christmas tree candle holder, and obviously that's near and dear to my heart, considering my wife's rustic Christmas trees. But anyway, he turned a Christmas tree candle holder on his lathe, and he did it so that it would hold lollipops. And he had his daughter in the shop, and she painted it and helped him with it. And he had it holding lollipops so that when he went to a craft show, that people could come by and grab a little lollipop off it. David, I love you, man. I just thought that was a great thing. And David Gunn needs some more attention. If you have the opportunity, check out DLG Woodworks on YouTube. It's just under David Gunn, but good guy, really good guy.
Yeah, in my book, that deserves a shout out just for getting the kids involved.
Absolutely, because I'm all about kids, and anybody who knows me knows I am. But I mean, he had his daughter in his shop, and she was painting the whole thing, and then he drove. It's just good stuff. Go watch. I don't want to spoil it for you. Go watch David Gunn. Excellent.
Anyone else want to dive in with a shout out?
Right, well, mine, like Richard, it's not an actual YouTube channel. I want to shout out Instructables.com. Now, like the tips we've just all been speaking about, a lot of people probably, you're already aware of Instructables, but for those of you that aren't, it's a great source for information. There's that many people posting projects, tips, ideas, techniques, everything you can think of. What we usually associate with searching YouTube and Google for, you head over to Instructables, type in what you're after, and there's going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of people who've been there, done that, and can guide you the way if you want to do it yourself. So that's my big shout out. Instructables.com. It's a great site.
Cool. That might be a good place for me to start looking actually for these shock therapy things.
Definitely, there's a lot on there.
That's not a bad idea. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. I get about 30% of my views through Instructables. It's definitely something everybody should look at. But my shout out is Sharp Edge Woodworking. I kind of recently fell in love with this gentleman. He most recently did reviews on Triton and a Veritas handsaw that I really liked. But his last build was a 5-part series, and I can't normally sit through a long series, but this is one I easily sat through, and it was making an arched passage gate, and just his methods. I'm not going to tell you his methods, just go watch the videos, but it came out just beautiful. So do yourself a favor and have a watch.
Yep, Chris is brilliant at what he does.
He's such a nice guy too.
Yep.
Such a nice guy.
The way he comes across is is just an approachable, easily listened to guy, and definitely,
man. Great energy.
Absolutely, and obviously homegrown from the UK as well, which is
thumbs up for you guys.
Thumbs up for me.
Don't get all prim and proper on me. Come on. Jamie, what about you, man?
Oh, well, you guys ain't going to believe this, but my nuts have been an inspiration.
Oh, another one's left the room.
It's about time.
Yeah. My shout out goes to Shogun Jimmy, or James Jacob, however you want to call him. He made a pen on his CNC machine, or a hex pen, or a nutty pen, or whatever you want to call it, out of Paduke and Osage orange.
Yeah, that came out awesome.
It did. It was a beautiful looking pen. And he actually originally wanted to make a steel one, like an exact replica of the one I made. And he went out to go and buy some steel nuts, and he couldn't find any. So he went to go and get some zinc coated ones, and they made him ill. So he ended up doing it out of wood on the CNC.
But I know you're holding back, and you want to plug yourself. So Ryan Bitters, come on, Jamie, give it to us. Go ahead.
And the other one is I've got to thank Ryan Bitters of Waylight Creations as well. What an unbelievable host he is. I had an interview with Ryan, which come out this week, and I just want to say thank you for Ryan for doing that. It was brilliant.
I think he deserves a medal for that, to be honest.
Ryan is a great guy, and he's doing stuff that is different with his channel that everybody else is doing, and he's just doing a bang-up job. Everybody should be watching him. He's really community-driven.
He definitely deserves a lot more subscribers than what he's got.
Yeah, and the fact that he was able to sit through the conversation with Jamie Page the way we have to every week, he deserves a freaking bronze medal at least.
I mean,
a gold medal.
No, Jamie G. The four of us, Alan, Joe, Richard, and I, we deserve the gold. Because you only had to do 15 minutes of you. We've got to do an hour.
Don't forget, I've got to edit it as well. I have to sit through it for more hours.
Joe gets the platinum. Joe gets the platinum.
I better wrap this up, Richard.
Yeah, well, I was just going to add that we kind of have to do it now, so we've sort of got our heads around the fact of it, and we can prepare. But this guy actually chose to. It was his choice. What?
The man asked me.
Yeah, all I'm going to say is stay tuned on his channel.
Good stuff. So brilliant. As always, I've had a blast, as Chris would say. So I think it's probably a good time to wrap up. People be sat in their cars with the bosses staring at them, tapping their imaginary watches. You've got to come to work. And to be honest, I need a break from Jamie. So Chris, where can we find you on social media?
I'm not on Instagram, but you can find me on Facebook under Make the First Cut, and you can find me on YouTube under Make the First Cut or Chris Cute, whichever one you would prefer. It doesn't matter.
Alan?
YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, under the Woodworking Junkie.
What about you, Jamie?
You can find me on YouTube at JP Woodwork and Twitter and Instagram at JP_Woodwork.
What about you, Joe? Where do you hide on the internet? Actually, no, I'll rephrase that.
I've got YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all under Average Joe's Joinery, and Instagram under Average Joe's Photography.
Good stuff. Well, I've been Rick Morley. You can find me at brainfizz.uk and under my name on YouTube. Don't forget to put some comments, get in touch across our social media platforms, and obviously on the platform you're listening on now. So thanks for listening, and we will be back again in a week. So cheerio.
Have a good week, everybody.
See you next week.
Take it easy.
Have a week. Guys, thanks for doing this on Saturday rather than Sunday. That would have really screwed up my schedule.
I'll shove it up your ass.